Hi, this is Niall Hendry from Move.AI, where we're turning the impossible into reality with motion capture to bring your wildest digital dreams to life. I'm on the edge of AI, where they capture more than just motion, they capture the future, one AI model at a time. Keep listening.
Hello, AI podcast passengers. Jump on in. Here's what's to come on today's journey. Find out how this AI team is redefining motion capture and transforming 2D into 3D animation for all. Find out why our guest sees the blending of human movement and artificial intelligence as a new form of artistry. And find out how AI is merging with other emerging technologies to create experiences beyond our current imagination. All this and more, take your seat.
Welcome aboard the Edge of AI podcast. Snap into your safety belt and prepare to explore the depths of the rapidly expanding AI universe. Each episode is a dispatch featuring hyper-relevant reports from the pilots, pioneers, and passengers aboard the AI rocket ship. We explore the latest use cases and developments in AI, hear from experts building tech, and learn how this disruptive force is transforming industries and society.
Welcome aboard the Edge of AI podcast. Snap into your safety belt and prepare to explore the depths of the rapidly expanding AI universe. Each episode is a dispatch featuring hyper-relevant reports from the pilots, pioneers, and passengers aboard the AI rocket ship. We explore the latest use cases and developments in AI, hear from experts building the tech, empower you to enhance your life with AI, and learn how this disruptive force is transforming industries and society. Welcome aboard. I am Ron Levy, your captain for today's voyage. Just like most of you, I've embraced the spirit of exploration throughout my life. From starting my own business before graduating high school to traversing the world's most challenging terrains, I've always sought out new frontiers. I built one of the largest award-winning custom home companies, and most recently I've navigated complex regulations while founding and leading a public company that is dedicated to applying technology and training. Buckle up and get ready. Let's tackle uncharted territories in AI today with curiosity as our guiding star. Today's episode features Niall Hendry, Vice President of Partnerships at MoveAI. Niall, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Ron. It's great to be here.
Niall isn't new to the world of motion capture and sports with his experience at Chiron Hago, where he worked on the Emmy Award-winning Track Ab, yes. Thank you.
Track out player tracking.
Correct. A technology used widely in Premier League, Bundesliga, La Liga, Sky Sports, Monday Night Football, and more. His passion for AI's enhanced capabilities in machine learning, computer vision, and augmented reality is real-time sports broadcasting led him to help build the next generation of AI use cases at Move. For those who don't know already, Move.AI is revolutionizing the animation industry with their advanced markerless motion capture technology, leveraging AI, computer vision, biomechanics, and physics. Move enables content creators from AAA enterprises to individual creators. Move provides tools like Move MultiCam, enabling creators to capture precise 3D animations using any camera, including smartphones. This innovative approach has been instrumental in various projects, including music video animations and album productions, democratizing motion capture for broad creative applications. Niall, so glad to have you here today.
It's great to be here, Ron. Thanks for having me.
You got it. So your story started in sports broadcasting from the start of your career. So it looks like the idea of motion capture wasn't new to you before AI, because AI has since become a household name. But what I'd like to know more about is why you decided to switch from tracking athletes on the big screen to 3D animation for creators.
Yeah, so AI in the world of media entertainment has actually been around for quite a long time. It just depends on the understanding of the application, and I think the accessibility to the application. We'll probably get into the accessibility in a little bit, but Yeah, we at Cara and Higo developed a whole ecosystem of tools to either track human beings running around sports fields and or track cameras, and to amalgamate that data together to create things like real-time graphics overlays for broadcast, for coaching, for OTT streams. Then we actually did the world's first ever real-time sports stream into Twitch almost nearly 10 years ago now. Now, how I got introduced to Move, and the reason I sort of moved more into the world of animation, is that I was actually working on a technology that was providing skeletal tracking in stadium to try and solve the offside problem in football or soccer. And I was introduced to the founders of Move when I was part of that working group to try and solve that problem. And I realized that this approach that MoveAI were taking, this is nearly 4.5 years ago, was the future of where I thought human motion tracking was going. So I had to get on board. And that was, as I say, 4 years ago. And it's been a bit of a journey since.
Well, one of the best examples I've given to myself, actually, on what's happened with sports over the latest technologies, and this is not necessarily AI, actually, it's not AI I'm referring to, hockey, which I know is huge over there in London, and that was a joke. I know it's not, but hockey is a very exciting game to be in the stadium and watch. But on TV, it was always a challenge. That puck is very small, and until TVs got big enough and all the technology came to the point where you can actually track that puck and track what's going on, it had a limit to the growth of the sport, TV-wise anyway. As technology got better, the sport has become huge, right? Because we can all watch it on TV now and really see what's going on. And the technology you're talking about has to be some of what has achieved that. Am I right about that?
It is, yeah. Although, I mean, I worked a little bit around NHL projects, and I still remember colleagues over in North America absolutely deriding the light that followed the puck around on the broadcast to show where it was. But no, you're right in that. Yes, absolutely. I think for sports in particular, trying to ascertain a deeper insight, whether that is tactically, visually, spatio-temporally, from a pure sporting perspective, has always been paramount to success, right? Like, if you can understand how the other teams operate, how you can maneuver, all sports, team sports, and maneuvering between gaps and lines, right? If you can get data to help you get that competitive edge, and also understand the thresholds of performance of your players, that data is very, very valuable. Where we've seen that progress, and I think where you've seen it really take off in the last probably 18 months in broadcast particularly, is being able to not only provide that level of statistical data and maybe spatio-temporal visualization, is really taking it to that next level of game engine visualization to not only provide the current viewer of those sporting events with entertainment, but also the next generation of viewer who are more engaged with IP, more engaged with digital and 3D environments.
So this is the technology itself, and that's a hint of kind of what you're all about, what Move is all about. So can you give me a little more? So the biggest difference here is if you're not a big broadcast network, trying to track a puck, so to speak, you're a smaller creator. Now you can use some of these tools. So that's kind of a little bit of an intro to Move and the opportunity that it offers to its users. Can you give us a little more detail on that?
Of course, yeah. I think to set it back to fundamentals, MoveAI is a technology and software company. The way our technology works is that we fundamentally take video and we run that through a series of algorithms. There's AI, there's biomechanics, there's kinematics, there's physics. All of that combined is a method we patented. What that does is it takes that video and turns it into 3D animation automatically. So the idea for us is to be able to automate what is either a complex or expensive workflow and really put it in the hands of both the AAA studios, but also the people at home who want to create content really quickly. And the way we do that is making the workflow as simple as possible.
And that allows anybody to create Pixar, Disney level animations by being able to, I'll say, democratize the motion capture.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what's actually quite interesting about, I think, a lot what Pixar and some of the Disney teams do is still very much hand animation, right? Which is an art form in itself. Teams of animators working on very complicated and very high-end productions. And, where we see fitting in with those workflows is just to enable them to get going quicker. But as you say, what we're now enabling as well is across the spectrum of creative budget and even maybe creative experience is the ability to actually get going faster to create that final pixel more quickly and more cheaply than ever before.
And you're expanding into additional regions as well. Congratulations on that. Can you give us an idea of what regions you're in now?
Yeah, thank you. So we're based in the UK, of course, and we are a global company. However, we are seeing a lot of uptake in the US, as you would imagine. We are also just opened up, actually via our Move One app on the App Store, both Brazil and Japan, and we've seen a huge increase in downloads on our app, actually, for those two markets, which is really encouraging to see, as we know both the Japanese and Brazilian markets are huge content creation hubs.
Give me some examples of some, I'll call it unexpected or unconventional applications of Move that might surprise our audience, but maybe even surprise you when they happen.
There are a few, actually. So the first one I always think of is architecture. And there's an architecture firm in London that use our software to plan out how people would lift a suitcase off a luggage belt in an airport, or how people move around spaces. We've also got we had a Kung Fu master who wanted to actually commit his entire salvo of moves to a 3D database so that it can be learned over time for the next generations, as opposed to creating content that goes out in a 2D format. These are different use cases, either for educational purposes and or architectural and industrial use cases where human movement is still required, right? I think that's what we found as we've grown as a business, is that throughout the digitization and the undertaking of 3D modeling and simulation, human movement is pivotal to a lot of these environments because people move around them in real life, and to simulate them out allows people to actually get a better understanding of how experiences will be, but also how people operate within spaces as well.
So, man, so powerful what you just said, because, there's a lot of talk about, humans being out of the picture now that AI and machine learning are advancing so quickly. But, man, those are two great examples, because I've built a lot of projects. I'm talking about, physical buildings, real estate. Yep. And the kind of things you're talking about are really important, and they're missed oftentimes, because just like any other industry, people are just getting their job done and moving on, but nobody thinks about, well, if I'm standing there with a suitcase, how do I make these walls so they're not going to get scratched up? How do I make sure I can spin these things around? All of that. And then when you get into Kung Fu, and it makes me think of Tai Chi a little bit, Tai Chi is the ultimate in muscle control. Maybe AI gets there, but you said Kung Fu master. So if I take a Kung Fu master or a Tai Chi master, and you can do apply your technology to follow these muscle movements that are, to me, inhuman. They're absolutely unbelievable. That's just a new type of education that will be there forever.
Totally. And I think, if we just go on the industrial use case as well, and you think about the ergonomics of that scenario. So if you're picking up or walking up and down a flight of stairs, or if you're picking up a suitcase from a luggage belt, you need to know that it's the right height, or the steps are the right distance apart to suit the human gait and or movement profile. And then on the martial arts side of things, I think what you mentioned there about the fidelity of that individual's movement, or the nuance to it, that's what we capture, right? Because we don't just capture 2D points of the body. We have a full 3D system that has biomechanical and kinematic models in it. So, if you move your arm forward, if you do a Tai Chi move and rotate your wrist, your whole arm moves, right? The whole arm twists and moves. We have that programmed into our system. So you get the actual motion in the resulting output. And you can do a lot with that in terms of the physics of what someone's doing, but also even things like differentials in rotations of joints, etc., that really enables you to get into the, not just the art, but the science of some of those movements as well.
Oh, it's so exciting. Before there's a punch, there's a muscle that tenses. Before there's a muscle that tenses, there's a facial expression, and it just goes all the way down. And having that kind of technology to truly study that is unbelievable to me. It's really fantastic. Talk to me about AI enhanced motion capture and the impact on that and the interactivity of VR, AR, XR experiences.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's also helpful to contextualize where motion capture's come from as well, right? Like you've had mechanical motion capture in cinema, for decades. Motion capture in its optical format, which is using suits and a number of reflective markers on the body with a high number of cameras. It's been around for quite a long time in life sciences and really probably got its full recognition or of proper understanding, as it were, with the Lord of the Rings series and Andy Serkis being Gollum, and the progression that's happened there for a lot of mocap technologies has really ridden a real crest of a wave in uptake, and the amount of content now that's created that way is vast. And there are other suit-based ways of doing motion capture as well, which use things like inertial sensors, which are placed at strategic points on the body and send back data streams, all of which, have their place for certain use cases. But our approach is fundamentally different in that we want to use the pixels that are already in situation, and by that I mean the videos. And we want to take the video data, and then by utilizing AI and computer vision methodologies, we can actually, use machine learning models to understand what a human being is in video, and then transfer that data into whatever the experience may be. So as you say, that could be a VR experience where you've, pre-created a bunch of animations, or the person is actually being tracked through the experience. With AR, you're just projecting on top of whatever experience you see. With an extended reality is sort of a combination of both in certain regards, but also in other regards, it could be an XR experience on the top of a broadcast and an extension to a wider world and pixel view as well. So for us, it's the interactivity that's enabled from that, particularly with our real-time product. It brings that human element and that understanding of what a human can do in a 3D experience to life extremely quickly. And when people see it and interact with it, especially, as I say, in the real-time element of the technology, it blows people's minds first time around, and it's really amazing to see.
So the world of digital worlds is obviously growing tremendously. So, for MoveAI is bringing human movement into that world, and it just seems massive. Those of us in the industry watching how quickly everything's going, it feels like a really important component on that. But how does a single camera API simplify the process of transforming video footage into usable 3D human motion data?
That's a great question. I think that when we came into the motion capture realm as MoveAI, we were being compared to the very highest standard, AAA gold standard data from certain systems. And as such, we had to meet those criteria and data quality standards to be accepted by certain customers. And that made our system appropriate for that level of the market. But, if you add more cameras into a scenario and replacing a suit, you're still replacing a workflow with a workflow, right? And what we realized is that as our pipeline, in terms of the back end and processing, became more mature, it became more robust as well. And we were actually able to throw different types of cameras through the system and fewer cameras through the system. And the more data we gathered, the more we were able to train our models. So we got to a stage where we could say there's certain use cases where the single camera application is good enough. So we launched our single camera app, Move 1, last year. We've been working on it for quite a long time now. And that is actually the front end to our single camera API. But the single camera API enables us to do is not just use iPhones, but use any single video in any experience, whether that's a digital world to create emotes or to create user-generated content or to allow people to interact with one another. It really democratizes that access from any point in any pixel to be able to then capture human movement.
Kind of groundbreaking, and I know you've got some studios that help with all this, but talk about your team, and they support the developers and the companies when it comes to troubleshooting and optimizing the use of the APIs, so they don't just get lost. Maybe talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, totally. So our product and our engineering teams, as well as myself and some of the more customer-facing teams, work directly with our customers. That's the way we have to work, right? Like, we know that some of this is groundbreaking and new and potentially unnerving technology at times, and we have to be there to make sure that our customers and our partners are having a good experience, and also that they know the capabilities of what our system can deliver. So we're very, very stringent, I think is the word to say, on making sure that we give our customers the best support and interactivity possible. And that's direct contact with us. And that's the best way we find of doing it.
Yeah, it's critical these days. We can get lost in customer service without a contact. So
Sure.
people need to have that confidence. Yeah, what in regard to your API offerings, like what are your features, plans on expanding them? Anything you can share now that might be coming up?
I think the thing to say there is that I mentioned earlier, like if you look at the world of spatial computing, in terms of the access, and I think we said VR, XR, AR, what have you, our fundamental belief is that human movement will be essential to the human experience of whatever spatial computing ends up being. And ultimately, we want to make sure that MoveAI is the backbone for providing that human movement data in whichever format or scenario that needs to be. And that could be media and entertainment, but it could also be moving around a factory. It could also be simulation and training for military use cases where you don't want a human being to stick their arm in a tank track, but you might want to train them how to do that 100 times. When they have to do it once for real, they'll do it safely. So we fundamentally believe that the API allows us and also partners and customers to take our core technology and expand it seamlessly into whatever other industries require human movement.
Let's talk for a moment. You brought up real-time motion capture a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And you've got invisible real-time motion capture. So how does your invisible real-time motion capture differ from traditional methods?
So, but the way it differs from our existing system is, I think, a place to start, actually. So our Move platform is deployed in the cloud where you upload videos, they process over a certain period of time, and then you download a file. But we know that with my background being broadcast and with a lot of use cases in the industry of media entertainment, such as live events, immersive installations, previs for film and TV, that real-time is necessary. And also, some of our competitors have it too. So it's something we need to provide. The way it differs is that we don't need suits. We use off-the-shelf technology that can be acquired for very low cost. And we can track multiple people up to between 2 and soon to be more people in 100 millisecond delay from capture to render in an engine, which is 1, high quality, and 2, very visually impressive when you see it. As I said before, people are sort of blown away when they see it first time around. And as I say, our real differentiator is the speed at which we can deliver the data, but also the lack of suits, right? Like that's our key differentiator compared to traditional motion capture, where you can just walk on and automatically be captured to a high degree of fidelity. That provides a far greater user experience than has been possible before.
And then how does Invisible enhance immersive installations and extended reality experiences?
Great question. So that real-time feedback of seeing yourself as a character or seeing yourself manipulate content immediately is hugely visually compelling. As human beings, again, as I say, the ability to say, "Oh, that's me doing something," and this character's waving back at me, is almost mind-blowing the first time you do it. And I love actually watching people do it, because what they do is they never simply wave at themselves, they just say, and they always jump. I don't know why, but they always do it. They always do a little hop on the spot. And they're like, "Oh my word, this is amazing." And so what it does is it, one, enhances that believability of the content. But secondly, where you maybe have more of a presenter driving content, and that could be for a broadcast, it could be for a live show, it could even be a corporate event, right? What it does is it seamlessly enables a 3D space that you're in to become a tablet or, a Wacom board all of a sudden, where actually you can control the content in front of you almost immediately by just doing gestures. And what's really nice about that is you can affect the content in 3D by moving around the space or by interacting with it. And so therefore it frees not only presenters to move more naturally without having to look at an iPad or without having to press on a touchscreen, both of which are workflows I've done before, but it actually allows them to, dictate the content around them in a very, very fluid and seamless way.
With all all the growth in the AI industry right now, and when the fact that it's allowing things that weren't possible yesterday, there's a lot of potential for misuse or even surveillance when projects reach mass adoption. How does your team ensure that your technology is used in a responsible manner, ethical manner, and respectful of your customers?
So fundamental to our core as a business is being ethically responsible with the way that our technology is used and with the way that our customers use it. And that's actually written into all of our terms. We also work with the best in show in terms of when it comes to partners and providers of technology, the likes of Amazon, AWS, and NVIDIA, we work with very closely. And ultimately, where it comes to, the items of things like surveillance, we'd work very closely with a customer who would perhaps be doing that to understand the legal parameters of what they're trying to do and the ethics of it. Fundamentally, if it was unethical in terms of the way our technology was being used, we would pull it and stop access for it.
Got it. So you're really focused on it, which we certainly all appreciate. With all the growth and changes that are happening, what do you see in the next 5 years for your technology and, where it's going and where it may be in that time frame?
It's interesting. I think within the last 5 years, we've come from having nothing to having what's a great product, but has so much further to go, we believe. And I think the next 5 years with the rapid advances in AI and compute and technology, I honestly don't know. And I know that sounds like a bit of a cop-out, but as I say, I fundamentally believe that our technology to be embedded either on device, whether that's a wearable pair of glasses, a mobile phone, what have you, is really where that will head. And as compute gets better, faster, smaller, I think that's where it'll head into being as part of a, globally commoditized experience.
I think that was a very wise answer. Part of it is we don't know where we're going to end up, but you've got to project out so you know what you're developing today, and that certainly made a lot of sense. If we zoom out a little bit from the tech itself, our audiences, they're also interested in the far reaches of AI as they get more creative on even Move's use cases, right? So yep. With the rise of deep fakes, what's your stance on the manipulation of real-time motion capture data?
I guess it depends on your definition of manipulation. And I don't mean to be facetious when I say that, but when you take a data stream, like we are outputting keyframes, and you can manipulate those on the fly in the 3D engine. So, creatively, you can start to change things as quickly as you go. I'd like to think we try and avoid deep fakes wherever possible. And again, going back to the ethical question that we mentioned earlier, if we knew that our system was being involved in deep fakes, whilst that's hard to legislate against, where possible, we would pull access for that if we thought it was unethical or detrimental to anything, really.
And I think the reality on that is it has to get some kind of control, and the regulators will do what they do and let them work on it, and I think that's great. But industry-wide, there's a lot of solutions that are being developed and come up, and I can absolutely see you, as it's not your core business unless it becomes that, utilizing one of these other technologies to use AI to know that there's a deep fake and then deal with it in a responsible manner. So I think that's where the industry's self-policing, which I love.
Definitely. And I think ultimately, where there are legal regulations, we keep on top of them, and we will always keep abreast of them to make sure that we fall well within the parameters of the law in that regard.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. So we have a sister podcast. It's called Edge of NFT, and we talk about Web3, metaverse, and a lot of things around those areas. With all these emerging techs getting more integrated with each other, are there any plans to utilize blockchain or other advanced security measures to protect the intellectual property rights of creators using your motion capture tech?
So, funnily enough, with the first NFT cycle, let's call it, this is something we investigate quite a lot with IP holders, either for sports, media, music, the estates of deceased performers, and also individual creators that exist today. And fundamentally, we believe that motion as an asset class, as we call it, is a monetizable future product offering within the Web3 space. Now, the mechanisms to be able to apply that to the blockchain and monetize it, I think, don't fully exist yet, but are in progress. I would say watch this space on that front. I do believe that our technology will be used in that regard at some point, and we've investigated it quite thoroughly. So do we think there's a use case for it? Yes. Do we think it should be legislated or authenticated via blockchain? 100% in that realm. And I think that we'll eventually partner with some partners to do that in the future as and when the market is ready.
The way I look at it now is AI is the killer app for blockchain. You take the functionality of blockchain and the permanent ledger, and it's so phenomenal. It needed AI, and now that AI is more toward mass adoption now, those bridges are being built. And I agree with you; they're not quite there yet, but they're being built very quickly. So we have blockchains that operate faster. Transactions are much less expensive, getting down to micropayments, and it's going to allow integration between all of this. So I think you're spot on. So really great. We're going to head now to AI Wants to Know, and that is because AI is curious, and so are we. These are 10 quick questions, and they're designed to uncover the intriguing human mysteries that AI longs to comprehend but can't quite grasp. It's a snack break in our journey, so keep the answers quick. But the safety belt sign, it's off. So if it feels right, we can occasionally roam about the cabin, exploring more of who you are and what makes you tick. Are you ready for this?
Let's go for it.
Before we continue with this episode, here's a quick glimpse into where our journey is headed next. Step into the future this April 23rd at Outer Edge Riyadh as we explore the next wave in Web3, AI, and beyond with our co-host Animoca Brands, Cast, Neom, and many partners.
Experience art, culture, and co-creation while building bridges with the leading minds behind smart cities, gaming, and Web3, such as His Royal Highness Prince Faisal and Yat Su, chairman of Animoca Brands. Leaders of pioneering companies such as Shrapnel and Nukta, the first Saudi Arabian NFT marketplace, will also be joining us. Don't just watch the future unfold, be part of it. Join the fun with the elite in shaping tomorrow. See you at the Outer Edge of Innovation by going to outeredge.live/Riyadh, RIYADH.
And now back to the show.
All right. Well, what is the first thing you ever remember being proud of?
This might be a bit of a longer answer, but my further answers may be more succinct. I was in a school play when I was like 5, where I was dressed up as a spaceman for the Christmas play, and my mum actually made this amazing spaceman outfit that gets rolled out as a picture every Christmas. But that's the first time I remember being, I don't know, proud of something, because it was, and I was 5 years old on stage dressed as a spaceman.
Oh, well, she set a tone, and especially mirroring up with this podcast, so we're good with that. What do you need help with that you wish you didn't?
Spreadsheets.
That was simple. What do others look to you for help with?
Support in saying no sometimes. I think like there's a degree of being able to say, actually, we can or can't do something. I think it's important to know your own limitations and not oversell or overpromise. And I'm very ardent about that. And, you know, saying no sometimes is the right thing to do. And often others look for me to do that on their behalf.
That's powerful. It's super important. Sometimes people learn far too late that no is the key to success on many, many things. So I agree with that. What do you treasure most about your human abilities?
I would like and hope to say empathy, although maybe that's quite grandiose, but I would like to hope that I am empathetic towards other people and patient with them.
Fabulous, great way to live. Throughout your whole life, what is the most consistent thing about you?
Well, it hasn't been my hairline. So it's probably been my my undying support for Glasgow Celtic Football Club.
All right. Well, there you go. And throughout your whole life, what has changed the most?
Do I mention the hairline again? No. I think like going, in all honesty, probably like where I've lived and my accent. I started up in Scotland and in the north, and I seem to move further down south. And as I'm reminded by my family and all my friends, I seem to have this weird, malleable accent that seems to have changed throughout my life. So probably that, and maybe just my general location because of such.
Well, I'm with you on the accent. It's a little combination of multiple things. So your family's right about that one.
They're usually not wrong.
What is it that you find strangest about reality?
That is a good question. Why do we have corn dogs? What are they? Who made them? Why have they been made? They're disgusting.
Okay, I call that a little bit of a cop-out, but absolutely hilarious. Well done. This one, you live with passion. See, this one is right for you. So it's that feeling we've all gotten in a given moment where you just feel really alive. It might be event-driven or moment-driven, whatever that is. So when is the most recent time you remember feeling alive like that?
Very most recently, in all honesty, I just came back from a big trip to the US, and I live in Sussex in the south coast of England. And on Sunday, just gone, I took my dogs for a very long walk on top of the South Downs National Park, and there was bright sunshine, blue skies, fields of green, a 270-degree view of the sea, and that made me feel very alive. And it always does. That's the most recent time where I had to take a deep breath, and I was like, "This is good. Life is okay."
Oh my gosh! You just described Mother Nature, and a very non-formal survey. The more I think about it, as we've asked that question more and more, Mother Nature's always involved in the answer. So there's a good takeaway for all of us. What do you see as your most unique trait?
I don't know if it's unique, but I think like self-deprecation is very important. And I think it helps other people be at ease. So maybe it's not unique to me, it's something that's consistent, I guess, about myself.
All right, we'll take it. If you weren't human, what would you be?
A dog. I would be specifically a whippet. I have 2 whippets, and they have the best life in the world. They go out, they sleep about 12 hours a day, they get fed when they want, they go out for a good run, and they have a great time. They haven't got a care in the world. They get to lie down by the fire in the winter. So yeah, I'd go nothing grandiose. I wouldn't be an eagle. I wouldn't, need to soar. So a nice life without any harm. Being a good boy.
Well, the way you described it, I think I agree. I want to be that whippet, but I want to be your whippet the way you must be.
They get looked after very well.
I would imagine so. So if you can, this is a bonus question I'm throwing at you. If you can have if you could have any fictional character from your childhood, whether it be from a cartoon, video game, and have it be reanimated and brought to life in a Move remake, who would it be and why?
So I remember when I was younger, there was this program, I think it was on the Disney Channel, called Gargoyles, which was brilliantly animated, and it was very fantastical. And they, moved between other worlds that was almost modern, but also Shakespearean. There's like the Titania character in there, etc. That was, I say, very 2D animated. I'd love to see something like that brought back to life, either as like live action or as like 3D in like a full like Unreal production, because I think the visuals and the movement would be like mind blowing. And also, I'd really just love to see all those stories retold from my childhood.
Wow, that sounds like a project worth working on. So go for it. So we're going to head over to AI leaders and influences. So this is to ask you to highlight some of the leading individuals, projects, organizations that influenced you. Can you tell us about some leaders that you've noticed in the world of AI?
I think one leader I'd probably give a shout out to is one of the leading AI technologists, Dr. Eric Heyman, that I worked with at TrackCab, who was, and is a global light and leader and one of the pioneers in human tracking. A brilliant guy at the same time, and endlessly patient in explaining what AI is, what it does, and why it's useful. And we were able to then convey that into products. So I'd definitely say Eric at a first and foremost base. And then I looked in the industry today, like people like Pina from Kubrick, who are doing some amazing things, and again explaining AI in a meaningful way. I think that we often see like a lot of output of content where it's isn't this amazing? It's a bit of content being created by AI. It doesn't go into the fundamental building blocks of it. So I think Pina over at Kubrick did a great job of that. I could think of a couple of others, but I don't want to go on and on and on.
No, but those are good. And we had the pleasure of interviewing Kubrick on this podcast. So that was really a great mention. Appreciate it. And then, I don't know, is there anybody else that you haven't mentioned that it could be outside of the AI world that was an influence for you that you want to share their X handle or anything else on?
Do you know what? A lot of people that I work with in the broadcast and sports world are either allowed on the X world or they're not on it at all. So I'm gonna let them just have their own voices for now.
All right, well, we'll do just that. So now let's talk resources. So if we can share some of your favorite resources in AI, do you have any names for that?
Yeah, so like this, do you know what? I've been pondering about this anyway in general recently because we use a combination of lots of different AI tools. Now, of course, I'm going to say MoveAI is the number one AI tool that anyone listening to the podcast should try. I'll also give Kubrick another shout. I think what they're doing is amazing and they're good people. Also the team over in Valinga as well. But, you know, in terms of when you break down things to what's useful, maybe on a day-to-day as well as what's useful creatively, you know, we use like GPT for a lot across our business, and like it has been fundamental. I know it might be very tried, tested, and stayed to say that, but like it has really revolutionized what we do. I'd also give a little shout out to the Notion's AI summaries that helps you summarize meeting notes. In Notion, we use that a lot. But then I think fundamentally as well, like going back to how we experience life day to day, my Google Home is one of my best friends, and the voice recognition on that allows me to do whatever on a daily basis is brilliant. In terms of like creative tools, using Runway to create content is so much fun. But I think at the same time, what I would say about all of these things is, even with Move tools themselves, right? Motion capture needs cleanup. The output of Runway needs adjustment. Even the outputs of GPT need assessing. AI is not there yet, whatever there may be. And we still need human interaction to be able to guide it and also to get the final thing that we want from it.
Yeah, that's why there's a whole industry on prompters right now. You know, there's still
Exactly.
an outflow of that, and it's really, really important. So I'm just going to round out that. So we talked about leaders and influencers, a resource list, and actually you mentioned a couple of tips on some products that our listeners might want to explore and use, MoveAI being at the top of that list. Is there any of those three categories that came to mind and that we missed?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. We're all good there. So where can listeners go to learn more about you, the projects you're working on, and MoveAI?
So firstly, our LinkedIn is one of the best places to look at. It's MoveAI on LinkedIn. On Twitter, we're MoveAI_, likewise on Instagram. You can also go to the MoveAI YouTube channels, which have a lot of our content. And if you want to join the MoveAI Discord server, search for it on there and you can find us there. We've got a lot of creatives in there creating some amazing content. And across all of our channels, we share whatever content we can get, as also whatever content our users, our customers, and our partners are creating.
Niall Hendry, you've been amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time out for this podcast. I think our audience got a lot out of this, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me, Rob.
All right. Well, it's time for another safe landing at the outer edges of the AI universe for today. This is your Captain Ron, and on behalf of our guest and the entire crew, I'd like to thank you for choosing to voyage with us today. We wish you a safe and enjoyable continuation of your journey. When you come back aboard, make sure you bring a friend. Our Starship, it's always ready for more adventures. If you're listening, go to Spotify or iTunes right now, rate us, and say something great. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and pass this episode on to a friend. Your support and feedback, that means the world to us. Don't forget to visit edgeofai.xyz. That's where you can learn more about about partnering and subscribe to the Outer Edge newsletter for the latest Edge of company news, events, and show drops. In addition, connect with us on all the major social platforms by searching for edgeof_AI. Join the exciting conversations happening online. Before we sign off, mark your calendars for our next voyage on Thursday, where we'll continue unraveling AI's mysteries and advancements. And until then, bye-bye.
The views and opinions expressed on Edge of AI reflect solely those views and opinions of the show hosts and its guests. Please make sure to do your own research. While we make every effort to ensure that the information about AI technology is accurate and up to date, we cannot guarantee its accuracy, completeness, or timeliness. We make no representations or warranties of any kind with respect to the information, products, or services discussed. Please be aware AI may occasionally generate incorrect or misleading information and produce offensive or biased content. Under no circumstances shall we be liable for any loss or damage, including, without limitation, indirect or consequential loss or damage, or any loss or damage arising from loss of data or profits arising out of or in connection with the use of technology discussed on our podcasts. Additionally, our show is not financial advice. You understand that you are using any and all information available on or through this podcast at your own risk. Whenever making financial decisions, we recommend doing your own research and talking to your accountant for financial advice. Lastly, time to time, we may feature sponsored content on the show for which we receive value, and we may share links for which we receive a commission if you make a purchase through one of these links. Refer to our website, edgeofai.xyz, for our full disclaimer, terms and conditions, privacy policy, and copyright notice.